Look at it. Hard, cold, eternal. We are told that this is the ultimate object of desire, the physical embodiment of a promise that cannot be broken. You know the scene. You've seen it in 1,000 movies. You've liked it 1,000 times on social media. Perhaps you've even performed it yourself. The kneeling man, the gasping woman, the question, and the ring. We are told that this stone is rare. We are told it is precious because the earth yields so few of them. We are told that to prove your love, you must spend 2 months of your life's labor to acquire one. But what if I told you that you are living inside a fiction? What if I told you that the ancient tradition of the diamond engagement ring is younger than the microwave oven? And what if the most valuable thing in that ring isn't the stone at all? This is not a story about jewelry. This is a story about how reality is engineered. This is the story of how a cartel took a common, abundant rock and tricked the entire human race into worshiping it. To understand the lie, we have to go back to when the truth was dangerous. The year is 1870, South Africa. For centuries prior to this moment, diamonds actually were rare. They were found occasionally in riverbeds in India or the jungles of Brazil. They were the trinkets of kings, queens, and maharajas. If you were a common person in 1850, a farmer, a soldier, a merchant, you had likely never seen a diamond in your life. They were mythic items. Then they found the mines in Kimberley. Suddenly, the earth cracked open and diamonds poured out, literally tons of them. It wasn't a treasure chest, it was a flood. It was an avalanche of supply. Now, if you understand basic economics, you know the law of supply and demand. When supply is low, value is high. But when supply is infinite, value drops to zero. The British financiers backing the mines panicked. They were sitting on a mountain of precious stones that were about to become as cheap as semi-precious glass. They faced a terrified realization. If people knew how common diamonds really were, nobody would buy them. The industry was facing extinction. Enter Cecil Rhodes. He understood that to save the value of diamonds, he had to kill the free market. He couldn't let competition exist. He bought up the mines, all of them. He consolidated every major digging operation into a single entity, De Beers Consolidated Mines. Rhodes created a single channel, a funnel. De Beers took all the diamonds coming out of the ground, put them in a vault, and locked the door. They only released a tiny trickle of stones into the world, just enough to make it look like they were scarce. They engineered scarcity. They simulated rarity. But controlling the supply was only half the battle. By the time the early 20th century rolled around, they had a bigger problem coming. The 1930s, the Great Depression. Europe was preparing for war. America was broke. Nobody was buying useless rocks. Diamond prices collapsed again. De Beers controlled the supply, but they had zero demand. Diamonds were seen as a frivolous luxury for the ultra-rich, and right now, the ultra-rich were jumping out of windows on Wall Street. De Beers was sitting on a mountain of unsellable inventory. They needed to get into your head. They needed to make people buy what they didn't need with money they didn't have. In 1938, Harry Oppenheimer, the son of the De Beers founder, traveled to New York City. He met with N.W. Ayer, the heavy-hitting advertising agency of the era. The brief was simple, yet impossible. The memo from that meeting still exists. It read, "Create a situation where almost every person pledging marriage feels compelled to acquire a diamond engagement ring." Compelled. Not wants to, has to. They didn't want to sell a product. They wanted to alter the psychological landscape of human mating rituals. N.W. Ayer didn't just run ads in newspapers. That would be too obvious. They decided to infiltrate culture itself. They created a Hollywood logic for real life. They gave diamonds to movie stars and paid the studios to include scenes of proposals in the scripts. They paid gossip columnists to describe the size of the stones on the hands of celebrities, ensuring the carat count was always mentioned in the papers. They even went into high schools to lecture teenage girls on the proper etiquette of engagement, planting the seed before the customers were even old enough to vote. They linked the diamond to the one thing that couldn't be priced: love. But they needed a slogan, something that would stop people from ever reselling their diamonds. See, diamonds are durable, they last forever. That's a problem for a business. If your grandmother dies and leaves you her ring, you don't need to buy a new one. Or if you get divorced and sell the ring, that used diamond competes with the new diamonds De Beers is trying to sell. They needed to take diamonds out of the market. They needed to convince you that selling a diamond was a sin. A copywriter named Francis Jarity scribbled 4 words on a piece of paper late one night, 4 words that would become the most effective marketing slogan in history. A diamond is forever. It wasn't just a tagline, it was a command. It meant never sell this. If the diamond is forever, then selling it is a failure. It means your love failed. By linking the stone to the concept of eternity, they froze the inventory in your jewelry box. They turned you, the customer, into the vault.
And then they had to decide how much to charge you. In America, they ran a campaign suggesting 1 month's salary. It worked. So, when they expanded to Japan in the 1970s, a culture with zero history of romantic engagement rings, they decided to push their luck. They ran ads suggesting 3 months' salary. And guess what? The Japanese men paid it. The salary rule isn't a tradition. It isn't ancient wisdom. It's a price anchor set by a marketing department to see how much pain your wallet could tolerate before you snapped. And this brings us to the irony, the contrast. While we were distracted by the sparkle, we ignored the metal holding it, gold. We need to talk about the difference between price and value. Unlike diamonds, gold is chemically unique. It is an element. It cannot be destroyed. It conducts electricity. It is used in electronics, in space travel, in medicine. It is actually scarce. If you melt down a gold ring, you still have the gold. Its value remains because the market for gold is liquid and real. But a diamond? Try to sell a diamond ring today. The moment you walk out of the store, that stone loses 50 to 70% of its value. Why? Because the jeweler knows the truth. He knows he can get a new wholesale diamond for pennies on the dollar from the suppliers. He doesn't want yours. He will weigh the gold band and pay you the market rate down to the gram. But the diamond? He'll give you a fraction of what you paid, just to be polite. Gold is truth. Diamond is narrative. We think we desire things because we are individuals. We think our tastes are our own. But the diamond proves that our deepest desires, love, status, commitment, can be manufactured in a boardroom 50 years before we were born.
They didn't just sell a rock. They sold the idea that a man's worth is measured by his ability to purchase a useless object. And they sold the idea that a woman's worth is measured by the size of that object. They created a social tax on relationships. If you don't pay the tax, society whispers that you aren't serious, that you are cheap, that you don't love her enough. That is the power of the antagonist in this story. The antagonist isn't a person, it is a system, an invisible force of corporate power and psychological marketing that controls behavior without coercion. So, why does this matter now? You might say, who cares? It's just a pretty rock. It makes people happy. Let people enjoy things. And you'd be right. There is beauty in the ritual. But if you can accept that the diamond is a lie, you have to ask the darker question. What else is a lie? What other traditions do you follow that were invented by a corporation to hit quarterly revenue targets? Is your breakfast cereal a necessary start to the day or a marketing campaign from the 1900s? Is the way we celebrate holidays or birthdays or success, are these our ideas or were they engineered? The most disturbing truth is not that diamonds are abundant. It is that human belief is programmable. We crave meaning so badly that we will pay 3 months' salary to buy a symbol of it. We are desperate for something to be forever in a world that is temporary. There is nothing wrong with diamonds. They are beautiful, they are durable, but they are not forever. The only thing that is forever is the truth. And the truth is, you don't need a rock to prove you love someone. That belief was the product, and you bought it. Who wrote your script?